The audio, there we go. Bang. Three disturbing cases that were solved. This motherfucker, goddamn, what's going on here? Don't look at me, he got some shit, bro. I'm not gonna lie. His videos are soft.
Angie Hausman was born in 1984 and grew up in the close-knit community of St. Anne, Missouri, a suburb of St. Louis. As a child, Angie was known for her joyful spirit, her
I don't know shit about St. Louis except
her
JT.
generous heart.
You know
She
what I'm
lived with her mother, Diane
real JT.
Bone, her stepfather, Ron Bone, and her younger brother, and was also close to
Her
her
stepfather's
extended
name is
family.
Ron
Her
Bone.
family's home
I'm gonna
was
go ahead and
filled
say
with
he's my
love
number
and
one
laughter,
suspect as of
and
now.
Angie was cherished by everyone who knew her. From an early age, she was described as a people person. Her cousin, Christina Maguillon, who was only a year and a half older, recalled that Angie was always smiling and laughing. She would greet strangers in stores and had an easy way of making friends wherever she went.
I don't know, bro.
Angie's outgoing
Greeting
and trusting
strangers in stores, I don't know if that's the way to go.
defining trait. She was the kind of child who would offer a helping hand.
Depends on the
to
stranger or
anyone
old lady
in
you go
need
ahead
and
with.
was eager to share her happiness with others. She attended Buter Elementary School, where she was a fourth grade student. She enjoyed her classes and was always willing to participate in school activities. Her teachers noted her curiosity and willingness to help other students. Her favorite activities included playing outside with friends, riding her bike, and spending time with her family and pets.
That's fire.
She was especially fond of animals and often talked about wanting to be a veterinarian when she grew up. One story that
Veterinarian?
stands
I
out
thought it was
among
vet-
her family's
wait, no.
memories is when Angie won a $500
Veterinarian.
shopping spree at a local
Veterinarian?
toy
Veterinarian?
store. Rather than spend all
I
the
just
money
used to say
on
vet.
herself, Angie asked for a bicycle with a radio and insisted that the rest of the money be used to help other children who needed things. Her stepfather kept the
Damn.
bicycle for years, even as it rusted, as a testament to Angie's selflessness and kind heart. On November 18th, 1993,
Damn, I might regret
tragedy
saying that
struck
shit about the
as 9-year-old
stepfather.
Angie went missing. That Thursday began as any other. Angie got up to school and rode the school bus home as she always did. Her stop was only about 8 houses away from her family's home, and the short walk was a routine she had followed countless times without incident. Angie got off the bus at her usual stop at around 4 p.m. She was last seen by her bus driver and several classmates who watched her walk away from the bus, presumably heading home. The weather that afternoon was cold, typical for late November in Missouri, but there was nothing to suggest danger lurking so close to home. Angie never made it to her front door.
God
When she
damn.
failed to arrive home, her family became immediately concerned. After searching the neighborhood and finding no sign of Angie, her family contacted the St. Anne Police Department at approximately 7:10 p.m. The authorities
a
responded
little while,
quickly,
no? After school to
recognizing the
7:10?
urgency of a missing child case. As the hours passed with no sign of the young girl, worry turned to dread. The police requested the assistance of the Major Case Squad of Greater St. Louis, activating them on November 22nd, 1993, to help coordinate the search and investigation. The community rallied to support the family, with neighbors, volunteers, and law enforcement combing the area for any clue that might lead to Angie's safe return. Flyers were distributed, media outlets covered the story, and tips began to pour in. Despite these efforts, there were no credible sightings or leads in the days following her disappearance. The search for Angie quickly expanded beyond St. Anne. Investigators considered the possibility that she had been abducted by a stranger, as there was no evidence to suggest she had run away or left voluntarily. The case drew attention from the FBI and other agencies, and the community held out hope that Angie would be found alive. 9 agonizing days after the disappearance, on the morning of November 27th, 1993, a deer hunter made a horrific discovery
damn.
in the Bush Wildlife Area in St. Charles County, about 20 miles from St. Anne. At around 10:30 a.m., the hunter stumbled upon the body of a young girl tied to a tree in a remote wooded area. Authorities were immediately called to the scene,
Tied to a
and it was
tree?
soon confirmed that the body was that of Angie Hausman. The circumstances of this discovery were as disturbing as they were heartbreaking.
Tied to a tree?
Nude, her wrists handcuffed behind her back, and her head wrapped almost entirely in duct tape, leaving only her nose exposed so she could breathe. Her eyes and mouth were also covered with duct tape,
she stayed out
she
there.
had been gagged with fabric torn from her own underwear. The position in which she was found suggested she had been tied to the tree and left there alive. The medical examiner determined that Angie had suffered a significant violent sexual assault and had struggled extensively to free herself before she ultimately died. The autopsy revealed that Angie had not died immediately after
Yo,
her
I never heard of a
abduction.
case like that, bro.
Instead,
Tied
she had been
up,
held captive
alive,
for up
left to die,
week,
right there,
during
just tied
which
up.
time she was tortured and assaulted. She was dehydrated, malnourished, and in a weakened state by the time she was left in the woods. The cause of death was determined to be hypothermia.
But what can you do at that point, bro? Like,
to
she's
the
walking
freezing
home, like,
temperatures,
as a parent,
likely
there's not
only
really much you
hours
can do with
before
it.
her
Like, you know
body
what I
was
mean? I'm not
discovered.
saying, you know what I'm
Ice had
saying?
begun to form
It's
over
like,
her
you can't
body,
even blame yourself,
indicating
though.
that
Like,
she was
fuck, bro.
exposed to the elements
Just
for
walking
some
home.
time
I'm gonna be
before
honest.
her death.
How the fuck,
The forensic
bro,
evidence collected at the
eight
scene
houses.
included duct tape,
How the fuck? I
handcuffs,
feel like
and a
if I'm the bus
fingerprint
driver,
on tape,
I'm noting
as well as
something, bro.
biological
She lives 8
evidence
houses down. She got
such as
kidnapped from the
semen.
bus stop to her
However,
house.
forensic
What the fuck we
technology
talking
in
about? I would have seen like some
1993 was
suspicious
not
car or
advanced
something.
enough to yield definitive results. DNA analysis was in its infancy, and the evidence could not be matched to any known suspects at the time. The fingerprint was run through available databases, but no match was found. Investigators preserved all evidence meticulously, hoping that future advances in technology would provide answers. The Major Case Squad worked for more than a year, chasing down every possible lead. According to Lieutenant Colonel John Lankford, who was heavily involved in the case, the volume of leads was overwhelming. If we had 15 leads called in that week, we were going to have 15 different investigations going, he later recalled. Every tip, no matter how small or unlikely, was pursued. Detectives interviewed known sex offenders, checked alibis, and investigated anyone with a history of violence or sexual crimes against children in the area. They also explored the possibility of a connection to other unsolved cases, such as the abduction and murder of Cassidy Center.
Dude, imagine being that fucking hunter and you find it,
disappeared
bro.
in nearby
I'm not-
Hazelwood just a month after
I don't know if I want to say
Angie.
it, but
This
find her
raised
sounds
fears
horrible,
of a
dog.
serial predator, but
Jesus
the
Christ.
cases were ultimately found to be unrelated.
You can't even. I don't even know if you'd be able
Investigators
to
also
tell
faced the
either. At
challenge
that
of
point,
public
duct tape
fear
on the
and
face,
media
tied behind her
scrutiny.
back. Like,
the case
Jesus
received
Christ.
extensive coverage, and the community was on high alert. Parents kept their children close, and rumors swirled about possible
It's gotta be nerve-wracking as fuck. What do you
suspects.
do?
Innocent people were named
After that,
and
you
questioned,
gotta feel like you're
adding to
feeling
the
watched. You know,
emotional
in the woods
toll on
alone.
the community and
You gotta
law
feel like
enforcement
something's out there.
alike.
See
The
some
pressure
shit
to
like that and
solve the
calling
case
it.
was immense.
'Cause you gotta
but
wait. They'll make
every
you wait, right?
promising
You're not just gonna
lead
leave.
seemed to
You know what I
end
mean?
in
Looks crazy.
disappointment. Over the
You gotta
years,
tell 'em
the
where it's
case
at and
was
everything.
periodically
Well,
reviewed
fuck, waiting
as
there for the
new
cops has to be
technology became
crazy.
available. Evidence was re-examined, and DNA samples were tested against expanding databases. In 2017, investigators thought they had finally found the killer, but the lead turned out to be another dead end. Nevertheless, detectives continued to follow up on tips and recheck facts, refusing to let Angie's case fade into obscurity. Fast forward to 2019, a pivotal
2019
moment
was an
came when
outstanding
forensic
year.
lab
I'll
technicians
stand on that.
retested evidence from
That year
the
was
case.
fire.
They focused
2020
on a
was
piece
a
of her
good year,
underwear,
too, up until that
specifically the
COVID.
pink trim
It was
of two
when it
torn
was up there, it
pieces
was up
found
there,
at the
bro.
crime
It
scene.
was starting
This
to
item had been
get some
preserved
momentum
for
going, and then
decades
it all
was
came
now
down.
subjected to the
But
most advanced
that was the
DNA
era.
analysis available. The results were stunning. Analysts identified DNA belonging to two individuals, Angie Hausman and an unknown male. When this unknown DNA profile was analyzed, it matched Earl Webster Cox, a convicted child predator who was already in federal custody. Earl Cox was no stranger to law enforcement. Born and raised in St. Louis, he had a long and disturbing criminal
got a photo?
history. In 1975, Earl enlisted in the U.S. Air Force, but in 1982 he was dishonorably discharged after multiple sex offenses involving juveniles while stationed in Germany. He was court-martialed and sentenced to 8 years in Leavenworth Penitentiary. After his release in 1985, Earl was placed on parole and moved to Missouri, living only a quarter mile from where Angie was abducted. Throughout the late 1980s and early 1990s, Earl continued to offend. In 1989, he was investigated and later charged in Overland, Missouri for the sexual abuse of two girls at a park near Buter Elementary School where Angie attended. His parole was revoked and he was sent back to prison only to be released again in December 1992. By the time of Angie's abduction in November 1993, Cox was living in the St. Anne area. His criminal activity did not stop there. He later ran an international
look at this
child
photo right here. It looks like
ring and was deemed by the state a dangerous person likely to reoffend if released. At the time of the DNA match in 2019, Cox was incarcerated in a federal facility in North Carolina under the Adam Walsh Act, which allows for the indefinite detention of dangerous individuals.
That looked like a happy photo somebody else took, right?
St. Charles County
so just imagine, like, your family member, y'all at a gathering, you have y'all good, and this motherfucker, he knows what he did. He's just like,
Lomar announced that Earl had been charged with first-degree murder, first-degree kidnapping, and sodomy in connection with Angie Hausman's death. The charges were based not only on the DNA evidence, but also on Earl's history and proximity to Angie's home at the time of her abduction. While the DNA evidence against Earl was overwhelming, investigators and prosecutors expressed doubts that he acted alone. Tim stated at a press conference that there was a reason to believe another individual may have been involved in Angie's abduction and murder. No one was eliminated as a suspect, and the investigation remained open to the possibility of additional perpetrators.
I don't know, that's weird. Well, I've
Tim
never been to St. Louis though, but man,
new leads would surface,
an afternoon in late November, you're telling me nobody is out?
Charged,
like, you don't even have to be out, just by your window to fucking hear a girl getting kidnapped right after school.
The DNA evidence
but I feel like right after school, a young girl like that, I feel like people are out, bro. People are going to pick up their kids. I'm not saying her parents should have been there, but I'm saying it's usually a group of parents at a bus stop to get their kids, and they're gonna see all the other kids going home. Whatever, man. It's just, you know, you can't prepare for something like that. But shit, that sucks. I'm gonna switch it. I'm gonna just upload that one video. I'm not gonna watch this whole thing because I'm gonna get bored.